Chapter 6, new maps, weapons and gadgets alongside a possible release window, large-scale changes to vehicle balance and a partial TTK reversal alongside DICE's continued failure to meet the expectations of its community. This is your week on the battlefield. Welcome to this episode of This Week on the Battlefield, the show where we cover news, updates, a community, and so much more, all around the Battlefield franchise. As per usual, there's much to cover, so let's jump straight into it. Our main news story of this week is of course the announcement of Chapter 6 and the details that came along with it regarding changes to vehicle balance, weapon balance and the time to kill, aim snapping on consoles, and new content. Scheduled of course to come in patch 6.0 and 6.2 in the coming weeks, possibly months. The TLDR version of all this is Chapter 6 will feature at least one new map, likely the previously teased Solomon Island jungle map of course. New weapons and new gadgets will also be part of it, with one of those gadgets already confirmed as the lunge mine, originally scheduled to come out with Chapter 5. As to the release date for the 6.0 patch, and likely following start of Chapter 6, nothing is confirmed officially, though DICE has informed us that we will get the full patch notes in the week before the update goes live, and in the meantime has confirmed we will be getting a trailer and more details on the chapter next week. Thus my bets are currently on Tuesday the 4th of February for the patch, and respective start of Chapter 6 on Thursday the 6th. Update 6.0 will thus of course mostly focus on introducing new content, but also make improvements to existing maps similar to what was done to Aerodrome more recently in the 5.2 update. In addition, we've got vehicle balance, which is very much in dire need of some attention, and the possibility to allow players to adjust the strength of the Auto-Sanp aim on consoles. There is, unbelievably however, currently no intention of actually removing that feature. Update 6.2, for which we will be getting proper details following the release of the 6.0 update, will largely be rolling back the time to kill changes introduced by the 5.2 update and later altered by the 5.22 hotfix. It should be noted that this is not a full revert, though the coming gunplay balance is an alteration of the original 5.0 variant and not the current 5.22 meta, and thus more similar to the actual 5.0 balance than the 5.2 patch. Time will of course tell how close it really is to the original TTK and if the community will be satisfied. The community reaction to all this has been unsurprisingly, but justifiably in my opinion, pretty negative, though we will cover all of that in our community section later on in the video. If you want a full breakdown of all the information provided by DICE in their community broadcast and subsequent clarification statements, I covered it all in a detailed video just this Thursday. You'll find it linked in the usual places. In other news this week, we had Chapter 5 come to an end on Thursday. If you failed to complete the weekly Ties of War assignment to unlock the M3 Grease gun, don't worry, as per usual it should be available for purchase with company coin this coming Thursday. Though we currently are between chapters and thus have no new chapter rewards or weekly Tides of War missions, DICE is continuing to provide us with weekly playlists. The Cats and Dog playlist currently available is an updated version of the Extreme Weather playlist we got last week, this time on Breakthrough instead of Conquest, featuring the extreme weather variants of Hamada, Aerodrome, Fiel, Narvik, Pacific Storm, and Devastation. Next week, most notably as already mentioned, we'll be getting a trailer and blog post detailing what to expect from Chapter 6, in what I can only presume is significantly more detail than what we got through the community broadcast this week. Next week we'll also see the return of the Bombastic Fantastic playlist. I believe this previously mainly featured vehicular focused maps. Details as to which maps specifically we'll be featuring should be available this coming Monday. In temporal goodness, as always of course to be taken with a generous helping of salt given the data mining origins of the provided information, we start this week off with a demo of one of the currently unreleased weapons in the game files, the K31-43, a Swiss-produced sniper rifle that actually includes an integrated periscope, allowing users to switch between it and a proper magnified option on the fly. Next up, we have some more melee weapons in form of the Bolo Guna, a Filipino agricultural tool, and a Knuckle Duster knife combo. And lastly, we have the epic tier Snakebite skin, demoed here on the M1A1 carbine, possibly rumored to be included as part of one of the Chapter 6 chapter progression rewards. In our community section then, we have the community's response to the Thursday released community broadcast. Not only was the whole thing very poorly put together, in my personal opinion, failing to highlight properly the fact that the upcoming weapon balance will largely be what we had in 5.0 with some adjustments, but it seemingly is further evidence of DICE's continued ignorance to the damage they have done to Battlefield 5 and its community with their poorly thought out and frankly even worse implemented weapon balance changes from the 5.2 update. Instead of a proper response to the controversy, after weeks of waiting for DICE to finally respond, we retreated to statements such as, "We improved the experience that players have when they are being engaged at long distance, and you've been active in sharing with us how these changes feel." There seems not only zero regret here on DICE's part, no apology of the sort, but also absolutely no sense of urgency. After all, they have waited 3 weeks since getting back from the winter break to respond to what can, in my opinion, only be described as a blazing inferno of a community largely united in their hatred for DICE's disregard for their own game. It took them 3 weeks to come to the conclusion that these changes weren't so great and tell us, without providing really much detail, that they largely would be reversing them sometime in the future, as there is currently not even an estimated release date, at least publicly available, for the 6.2 update. The community's response to this post, much like the original Time to Kill changes, is justified and pretty predictable, and DICE really should have known better as to put out something so vague after 3 weeks of making us wait. Further to this, we have of course the discussion surrounding more weapons being moved from the weekly Tides of War assignments to the chapter reward section, which of course allows those players who wish to purchase chapter reward skip tokens to unlock these weapons earlier through the use of real world money. As I noted on my video detailing DICE's announcement, this is really only problematic and pay to win where new weapons are unbalanced or particularly good, but it is another controversy that DICE really easily could have foreseen and avoided. Given their handling of the in-game economy so far, and how we were all led to believe that all, if not at least most of the cosmetic content would be earnable via in-game currency, I absolutely understand the backlash here. After all, DICE has failed really to deliver much non-Boynes exclusive cosmetics for the game at all since launch. And then there's the console Auto-Sanp functionality, which by and large, from what I hear from you console players out there, is an absolutely awful addition to the game. I can't really add much more here than this is blatant pandering to noobs and it won't work, but I personally think it's an insult to the capable console players out there who, through proper mastery of their aims and practice, are more than good enough to play properly without the need of such simple assistance. Over in our Only in Battlefield moments though, this week featuring 2 community submitted clips. If you want to submit your own Only in Battlefield moment for consideration, feel free to check the description of the video for details on how to do so. But starting off today, we have Aces Nate with a beautiful 15-man B1 on Iwo Jima. Next up, an extended katana streak by Skull Grant on Pacific Storm against a group of seemingly oblivious players, clearing out a total of 11 enemies. A great streak. Next up, Snifle XP with a quad headshot. And lastly, Cap America with a 2-for-1. Coming to the end of this week's episode then, if you enjoyed the show, found it interesting or entertaining, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share, and of course hit me up with your feedback, suggestion, and opinions down below in the comments or over on Twitter. With all that being said, however, I'd like to thank you very much for watching and hope to see you in the next episode of This Week on the Battlefield.